Hi all, Tracy Brown here. As I often am in my car waiting in car line for my little one to get off school and my wadded up iPhone cord as usual, I wanted to share with you a really fun experience and just some inspiration to learn how to eat food for pleasure. I know most of the time in the beginning of this intuitive eating journey, we are scared to death to eat something fun like, for me, donuts. And the reason I'm using the food donuts because if you go over to my website, www.tracybrownrd.com/blog, I talk about the context of eating donuts and why it's so special for me. And in that post, I talk a lot about how there was this donut shop, and it was so wonderful and so cute, that I used to eat at almost every Sunday for not quite a year. Back when I was a dietetic intern and finishing up my requirements to become licensed, so as a dietitian. And anyway, this shop was a 2-person operation, and you go into there and it's a teeny tiny little shop, but every donut you could ever imagine was created there, fresh. You walk in, you have your white paper bag, you get your goodies, and it's super cheap, and it was super wonderful. For a really super broke student like me at the time, as well as the most delicious little nuggets you could ever eat. I mean, light, airy, melt in your mouth, amazingness. And at the time, I was still kind of in the first year or so of doing intuitive eating very seriously. I'd played with it a couple years past, and if you looked at my video from last week around my 13th wedding anniversary, I talk a lot about that. Was the year prior to that was the end of what I would consider my last diet, and so here we are 6 to 9 months later, eating donuts and still feeling kind of worried about it, but learning how to trust and how to eat foods that are basically considered not healthy, or if maybe you don't worry about the health part so much, but you're just afraid that if I eat something I like, then I'll never stop. And so I dealt with all those same fears. So I'm going to talk to you guys about how to manage these pleasure foods. And so how I did it this past weekend, and by the way, another portion of the story is so important, is that last week I went back to St. Louis for a lot of reasons. My life in St. Louis was filled with literally the honeymoon period of first being married, the honestly agony of going through the dietetic internship and being unpaid and trying to survive, and donuts were a affordable little nugget of pleasure that I could have, and I also use them to practice my intuitive eating skills with, and so that's why they're kind of special for me. And I don't love every donut, but those I particularly love. So anyway, we back into that town last week, St. Louis, and revisited our old places, did some things we couldn't do at the time because we couldn't afford it, did some touristy things, and overall just tried to chill and have a good time, and food was part of that. And so anyway, let's talk about pleasure foods such as donuts. And what was so amazing is that that last day we were there, we knew we wanted to find that donut shop, and it was in the same neighborhood we used to live. Our hotel was kind of 30 minutes away from that, so we had to find it, and we didn't really know if it existed. So here we are at breakfast in our hotel trying to decide, hey, it's 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, we're eating breakfast, and we're going to go find this place. That's our first agenda. I want to be hungry for these donuts, or at least minimally a little hungry to neutral. So how am I going to do this? So I actually use my intuitive eating skills to plan out I want to go have something really enjoyable, and I want to have room for it. So how I decided to do this was look at my breakfast and eat it with a little bit of gentle nutrition. Okay, I want to get some protein in because I know I'm going to have donuts soon, and typically donuts don't last me that long. So I'm doing this literally 10 to 15 second conversation. How do I want to feel right now? And what I wanted to feel is sustained energy, as well as not to get fully full, even a 7 or an 8, because I knew I wanted to get to the donut shop and have whatever I wanted, not just from a pleasure perspective, but also to be comfortably ready for it. And so I probably ate that breakfast from, a 3, which is good and hungry, probably to about a 6.5, like a 6 wasn't quite enough, so I had a couple more bites of some breakfast I had eggs, and what did I have? Gosh, I had eggs and fruit and some roasted potatoes and coffee, and I think some peanut butter just to eat it because it was really good. I think that's what I had. And so I ate the nuggets of that from a 3 to like a 6.5, knowing that like probably within the hour hopefully we would find that donut shop. And gratefully so, we found it. I had my delicious donuts. You can see the pictures over on my website. They were so pretty, and they were even better than they looked. And we found a park that we used to take walks in, and we enjoyed it. And it was all part of the experience. And we picked what we wanted, the donuts, knowing that we might finish them, we might not. We did finish them because, again, they were so light. And I was able to do that. And we enjoyed every bit. And I was able to finish off. So by the time I got to the donut shop, maybe it's like 45 minutes later, maybe close to an hour later, I was at a 4.5, like not really that hungry, but a little bit. But honestly, if I had gotten to that donut shop and had been even at a 5, I still would have had the donuts because I had room. And if you think about it, for every hour that goes by, we lose like a place in us that like, so let's say you're 5, which is neutral, in an hour you're going to be a 4, which is hungry. I knew that like, no matter what that mildly hunger place was, I still needed to eat a decent amount to be able to like have fuel for the next things we were going to do, which we had planned. And knowing that like, even if I got really full, and this is like, you know, early to mid-morning, I was still going to be hungry again. And, you know, if I went to a 7, I'll be hungry in 3 or 4 hours. If I go to an 8, I'll be hungry in 5 to 6 hours. And so I was able to plan that pleasurable eating in a way that didn't feel obsessive, and it felt really, really physically good. And of course, by the time I got to lunch, I wasn't thinking about like carby sweets, to be honest. I was thinking about like the more savory options on that menu the next place. And that I actually didn't even cross my mind until now, of the reality that's how it went. So, you know, I would have chosen, let's say, carbier foods at lunch if that's what I really wanted, but I didn't happen to want that because I had full permission to eat as much donut as I wanted. I trust my body. And if I would have had side effects from that, I would have managed that accordingly. In terms of like, if I had a heartburn, I would say, oh man, okay, so what foods really are more soothing to me the next meal? And I was okay with that. I went into that knowing that like that might happen, because sometimes that happens for me with donuts, but this time didn't, because I knew honestly the quality of the product and how good they are, and honestly the love and care they go into making them and how they make them, so, and the freshness factor. So anyway, that's one way we can enjoy these foods that we often demonize, to come to it with full pleasure and enjoyment, and you know, relishing every moment of it, and knowing that like you know, we can trust that we're not going to want to eat that all the time, even if it's like literally the best donut I've ever had. Now, so all right, I hope this was helpful for you guys. I'd love to hear your comments below, either here or on my website. I also want to give you a couple little nuggets of information coming up. So in 2 weeks, June 5th, 2017, I'm going to be doing a free 5-day Facebook Live teaching around all the content in my Attuned Eating for Attuned Living course. That's my 6-month course. That's either in live gatherings or self-study, and both of these I feel like are very accessible from a price perspective ways to work with me and to learn some really deep fundamental skills about how to fully trust your body. So, and I wanted to offer this free course, this mini course, as a way to get to know me better, to get a snapshot into what you'll be learning about, and what's more important than anything else is you getting a sense of like what you can accomplish in such a short amount of time. If you've been living with food or body worries for 5, 10, 15, 30 years, and like a 5-day free course can give you insight into what you can actually get in terms of freedom and peace and empowerment and courage and trust in 6 months, then I mean, hopefully it's a no-brainer for you to show up and be part of that. And if you are signed up for my newsletter, you'll be also getting 5 days of basically like a worksheet to follow along in that course. And if you're listening to this or meeting me for the first time, go to tracybrownrd.com, /free-gifts, and you can get signed up. That way you get my free intuitive eating guide, as well as the emails that will go out starting June 5th, of the worksheets that will kind of give a summary of what each month of my course looks like. And so yeah, you can just follow along, and also there's some writing prompts in there as well for you to delve deeper into what we'll talk about. So hopefully that was helpful to you. And if you have any questions, you want to connect with me, again, tracybrownrd.com. You can contact me. My email address is tracybrownrd@gmail.com. I love emails. That's the fastest way for me to get back to you, and I try to get back to people within a day or so. All right, I hope you enjoy your pleasure foods without fear. If you feel like that you need more guidance around that, please let me know. I'd be happy to work with you. If you're just starting out with eating pleasure foods and you're afraid that you'll overdo it, just one little quick tip before we go is that do it in a way that you feel comfortable, which is out in public or smaller single-serve amounts. But really don't wait. Don't wait until you feel like I got it all figured out, or I've lost weight, or I've got to get this whole intuitive eating thing figured out, and then I'll do some play foods. I would say don't wait, because actually including those foods now will help you be a more attuned eater. It helps us hone in more quickly because we're looking and listening more. If we stick with safe foods, we don't get a chance to challenge ourselves very much. So I encourage it. All right, thank you so much for watching. Talk to you soon.